Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to go over our medical clearance and how well that went. She obviously passed, but we got the official news from our navigator. And once we got that information, how I felt about it and the next steps. So let's go ahead and roll that footage. And for reference, we met Alyssa yesterday and here's Ashley. Here we go. Hi, Ashley.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. How are you? Andy and I are both here.
Hello.
Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Hi. Well, I have amazing news to share with you. Alyssa is medically cleared.
Woohoo! Yay!
I'm so excited for you. We are moving to legal, so I am going to send off your legal referral right now.
Okay.
I am going to ask for a stamp on it, and so I know it's Friday, but I'm hoping that you'll hear, for sure by next week with a draft to review, and so you'll just kind of work through that. I'm sending it off for both you and Alyssa, and Alyssa will know as well, so that way we can hopefully move through quick and keep our hoping date that we're hoping in August. So.
Yes, perfect. Yay, that's wonderful news.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Hey everyone, I thought I would record as it's been a couple of days. It's been a couple of days since we got the news that Alyssa is completely medical cleared and we are going on to legal. The following days after the actually meeting Alyssa and then going into that phone call, it was like a whirlwind. I was honestly emotionally exhausted because there's been so much building up, and then just meeting Alyssa and all the things, and it was a lot. It was emotionally a lot, so I was really tired. But now it's been a little bit. We've got the phone call. In person, we also got from the doctor that everything looked great, so we knew there wasn't going to be any issues. But then when it was officially that she was medically cleared, we went ahead and got that news, and it was wonderful. So we're officially in legal right now. We are just waiting for that first copy of the legal agreement, and then we will go from there. But I thought I would just check in. I'm excited. We're both excited. So we're excited to see where this all goes. They're going to try and push legal quickly, so they're going to put a rush on it. So maybe in 3 weeks total, we could be looking at being done with legal, which is super exciting. And then transfer, we already have a transfer date with our clinic. They do a transfer date. They schedule them out. It can always be canceled and then you can push it back if needed, but we are on the schedule for August transfer, which is just oh my gosh, we could be pregnant or Alyssa could be pregnant in August. That's crazy. And it's June. It's the end of June right now. So, super exciting. I'm excited. We're all excited. But now it's just a little bit more waiting until legal is done. I still do not have Alyssa's contact information, but we were able to meet. So, that's really cool. There is also a little hummingbird out here right now. Oh my goodness. This is so crazy. So, hummingbirds... for me, they're a symbol of our babies that are in heaven, and I actually have they're on my arm, so I have three hummingbirds for each one of my babies, and there's actually one out here right now, which is so crazy that I'm talking about this, and there's one out here when a lot of them have migrated already. Oh my goodness, let me see if I can get a video of it for you. Oh my goodness, how beautiful. Wow. Oh my goodness, that is so exciting. Also, don't mind my garden. It's at the end of the season. we're in late June here in Arizona, so everything's dying. Now that Alyssa has been medically cleared, we are moving on to legal. So legal is a huge process. There are attorneys involved and such, and so we did go ahead with our recommended attorney from our Pinnacle Surrogacy office. And so we went with that team, and what happened is they reached out and we scheduled our first meeting. Before our first meeting, they sent us a draft of a surrogacy agreement for us to mark up, make changes, additions, and things like that. And so we got that it was 50 pages, 50-page agreement, and we marked it up. Once we went ahead and read through that and made changes, we met with the attorney to talk through those changes and to talk through the agreement. Once we made our changes, then we went ahead and sent that copy off to our surrogate. Our surrogate requested some changes, we accepted, and then legal was done. So quick. So we went ahead and went through legal extremely quick so that we could move on to our transfer, which is super exciting. But I do want to take a moment to go through what is in that legal agreement, because for Andy and I, we had no idea what to expect. So this legal agreement is specific to surrogacy and our surrogacy process. So I am not an attorney, but I want to go over some of the bigger topics that are within that. I will not include any legal jargon or advice or decisions on things, but I just want to go through the areas that are in the legal agreement so that you can have an idea of what would be in that agreement. All right, I do have my computer here. It's right here. I have this here because there's a lot in the surrogacy agreement. So I did go ahead and jot some things down. So if you see me looking down, that is what I am looking at. So the first thing on our list is intentions of the intended parents and then the surrogate. So it lays out why we're doing surrogacy and our intentions within that. The next section is for laws for the surrogate within their state. So we do the state of the surrogate because that's where the baby will be born and where the surrogate will be completing the surrogacy chapter of it. So it does have to be in accordance with the laws of their state, not the state that you are residing in as the intended parents. For our surrogate, her state required that there was a medical need. She cannot, within her state, she cannot be a surrogate for someone that just like wants to have a surrogate, have their child, but it does need to be a medical need. So we did have my IVF doctor go ahead and write that medical need letter so that we could go ahead and continue with the surrogate in this process as there is a medical need in our case. All right, the next section is the parental rights. So that this is just going over that the surrogate doesn't desire to have a parental relationship or to adopt the child. And so that it truly is just for surrogacy of growing baby, birthing baby, and then providing the baby to the intended parents. Next up is engagement of agency. So basically saying that Pinnacle Surrogacy is our company that is assisting facilitate this process, and that they are not specifically liable to what's in our agreement, as that's in between the surrogate and the intended parents. Next up is the agreement of medical evaluations. So this is going through the medical evaluations that the surrogate will undergo, whether that's before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and such. Then it goes into the psychological evaluation and counseling. So we did go through, all of us, Andy and I, the surrogate and their spouse, went ahead and did the psychological evaluation, and then we also have an agreement that if counseling is requested, that will also take place. Okay, next up is embryo transfer. So embryo transfer, it goes over the procedure and the legal requirements, meaning the number of embryos, the testing that'll be done, when there will be pregnancy tests done, like this many days after embryo transfer, things like that. Next is the conduct during pregnancy, and this is all to do with protecting the fetus. So this is an area that goes over like the medical protocols, the surrogate's treating physician, and medical instructions. It goes over surrogate restrictions such as like dangerous sports or body altering that breaks the skin, such as like tattoos, piercing, things like that, substances, and then over-the-counter medications. It also goes over the residence and travel during pregnancy. This is one that we had to ask our attorney about because it was confusing to me. Why are we restricting like the mileage that they can go based on their trimester up through pregnancy? And it was all to do with, well, the farther along they're in pregnancy, the mileage gets shorter because we want them to stay in their state. Because if they have baby, they need to be in their state. Otherwise, you may need to adopt your child and go through another legal process, because the legal process set in place is no longer effective if you're outside the state that you do it with. So I thought that was super interesting. It makes sense, but I just never even thought about that, or thought about that would need to be in there. It also goes over additional testing during pregnancy, video photography and permissions with that, and then the agency contact and communications as well. Then it goes into some more of the heavier topics here as well, such as abortion and selective reduction. You really have to lay out every possibility and what you're going to do with that, what happens, so that everyone is already on the same page of what you're wanting to do. So if those things need to happen or they are desired to happen, what is going to take place, what is agreed upon in those scenarios. Then we go into term and termination of the agreement, like how many transfers will we do in how many months. So that's what that area is. And then the custody of the frozen embryos, who has custody of those, who owns them. It goes over risks of abnormal child and children and gender. The custody of the child upon the death of the intended parents. So this is something we did have to create a will for. We didn't have one, and so we did need to create a will so that we had that in place, that this legal agreement could fulfill for this legal agreement. Because if there is a death of one of the intended parents, what are you doing with the surrogacy? What are the terms of the agreement? So that's something you also have to go through. Next up is illegal and parental responsibility and termination of parental rights for the surrogate, meaning that the surrogate will surrender all parental rights when the child is born, so that the custody can go to the intended parents, who is the biological parents. Then we have the determination of paternity and maternity, change of circumstances. If there's anything that needs to change, this needs to be done in writing. Then it goes into a large section regarding payments and expenses. So it outlines the compensation for a surrogate of various aspects of the surrogacy journey, and the amount that is going to be paid for each one of these. So these are not limited to, but I'll go ahead and start reading this list for you, just so you can kind of get an overview of the types of things that a surrogate is paid additional for over their base salary, to say. So it goes over their overall payment. That's the base salary. The payment for medical screenings, embryo transfers, child care and travel, bed rest, the spouse's payment for missing work, such as transfer when the spouse comes and assists. They are paid for, they're compensated for their time that they are missing their own work for. And each one of these also has a cap on it. It's not just unlimited, so that is something to keep in mind, at least in our agreement. So that is something you can put in yours. Mock cycle fees, canceled cycled fees, if there's a C-section, if there's any invasive procedures such as a D&C, an ectopic pregnancy, selective reduction, medical abortion, if there's a hysterectomy needed, whether or not the surrogate if the surrogate does provide breast milk, what is the compensation for that? court fees, life insurance, and then the psychological support. All right, and it's not done yet. But like I said, it's long, guys. It's long. It has so much stuff, and it's not like just like, oh, do. No, these are like heavy topics. You have to like really think about what you want and really dig in with your partner to understand like where you're both at on these. Okay, so let's keep going. So next up is your financial responsibilities for the intended parents, insurance policies that the intended parents provide for the surrogate, the assumption of medical and psychological risks, because there are risks within pregnancy alone, but then also within being a gestational carrier. Intentions of each party are stated again for the intended parent and the surrogate. The attorney fees are listed, the contact with surrogate after delivery, so you can distinguish what kind of contact that you are open to or not open to, or have very specifics or leave it more general. And then the confidentiality and privacy rights, along with medical emergency or life support for the surrogate and the baby, the child. So those are the big topics and they are big, big topics of a surrogacy legal agreement. Of course, this is not limited to all the topics in it. This is just parts that I took out of it. Of course, tons of legal language that some of it I don't fully understand, but our attorney explained to us. But there is so much within it that is really important just to nail down exactly what you agree upon, and taking those suggestions or the requests from the revisions from your surrogate and considering what they're wanting and looking at exactly, do you agree with this or not, before officially signing off. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to show you a video of after our first legal meeting and just showing you a clip of in the moment, how I'm feeling, how I'm doing. So go ahead and check that out. Yesterday we had our legal meeting that went over our contract. That was a very busy day. It was a little bit overwhelming in a sense because there is so much in it. The contract is literally 50 pages. So we went through it, we marked up what needed to be changed and whatnot, and then now our attorney is going to go ahead and send it on over to the surrogates to review and to take a look at and make any adjustments that are needed, and then we'll move forward. But my oh my, that document is massive. It has tons of information in it of what you hope to have throughout this journey. Really, it's just an agreement upon everything we've already agreed upon, such as like embryo transfer, the type of birth, and things like that. Like anything that we've already discussed, along with more. As you can imagine, 50 pages. Wow. So there's definitely a lot of information in it, a lot of information to go through and to make sure that it's all accurate and correct, because it is a legal document. You do want to make sure everything is written the way that you want it to be done. So yeah, but it is really exciting because those adjustments have been made and it's been sent to our surrogates team. They will go ahead and review it. Once they review it, they will go ahead and make any adjustments as needed and send it back to us. Once we both agree on what the agreement says, then we will go ahead and get it notarized and signed and everything like that. So yeah, the process is definitely moving along. Legal is just, it's time consuming just to read and to think about your choices and what you want to happen throughout the process and your desires. But it's definitely crucial just to make sure that everyone knows what everyone expects and that we all have just all the legal rights in a row, basically, especially with like birth in another state and things like that, wanting to make sure everything's buttoned up before we start the journey. So yeah, that's where we are at today. So now it's just her team's reviewing it, and then we'll hear back hopefully soon from them to go ahead and move forward. But we're excited. We're hoping for that August transfer date, but we will see. I hope this video was helpful just to describe and to learn a little bit more about what's in a surrogacy agreement. Our next video goes into getting legal clearance, which is so exciting because legal clearance not only means that we can move on to transfer, but that we also got Alyssa's, our surrogate's, phone number. So I'll see you next time. Bye.